Yo, what's hoppin', new friendos? Welcome back to the Tropical Garage. My name's Troy, and today we're going to be trying something new to the channel. I'm calling it the In-Depth series, where basically we're going to be taking a deeper look inside one of my vivariums each week. And we're going to talk about the vivarium itself, the plants, and of course, the inhabitants. So starting off with the vivarium itself, this one was built by me, and the dimensions on it are 44 inches wide by 17 inches deep by 24 inches tall. And the background style I chose to do on this one was the Great Stuff, carved down with a wire drill brush attachment and power drill, and I used some Malaysian driftwood in the background. I do have a small pump and some tubing for this one with a water feature. This tank is also a no substrate tank. Instead, I just used sponge filter mat as the drainage layer and substrate layer. Then I just topped it off with some live, low-growing tropical moss. This one houses a group of Phyllonbates Terribilis mint, and I'm not quite sure on the sex ratio, but if I was a betting man, I'd say it's 5 males and 4 females. And moving on to the plants. This plant here is Macotes petola. It is a jewel orchid. It's a very, very beautiful plant. Almost has a iridescent sparkle, almost glowing veins, which is really striking. And it's a great little accent plant, and it's grown really well for me without substrate, just literally planting it into the live moss, and it is multiplied and propagated quite a bit. So very easy to grow. Just want to keep it on the moist side and don't let it dry out. Next, we have Anthurium crystallinum, which is a large and gorgeous aroid and grows very easily in a terrarium as long as it's kept on the humid side and you don't let it dry out. This plant I have just pinned to the background with toothpicks. Again, no substrate. I do have some sphagnum moss around the root ball. And next, this is Peperomia villicalis. I just started using this plant a little over a year ago. It has really beautiful foliage and really cool texture in the leaves. It's almost, well, it is kind of furry, as you can see. And it's got nice red stems, and again, just grows like crazy in a humid environment such as a vivarium for dart frogs. And next we have my favorite Markgravia species, which is Centennici. This is a slow-growing Markgravia, which I really like, and the new growth it puts out is reddish pinkish in color, and the leaves do get around 3 to 4 inches in length, so it can look rather striking climbing a background. Again, this plant grows very easily in vivarium conditions. And here we have another beautiful aroid. This is Philodendron verrucosum, and this is the dwarf version. The biggest leaves get about 4 to 5 inches across. This is a gorgeous plant, and honestly, it's on the rare side, but it grows like a weed in vivarium conditions. And next we have MONSTERA SILTEPICANA. This plant grows like crazy and really climbs the background. If you let it grow up to the top, it'll start sending out runners, but the plants can get kind of crispy. Here you can see one that's down low and it stays that nice green coloration. Really cool patterning on the leaves. And here we have SOLANUM ECUADOR, which you can see also has really cool leaves. This plant, again, grows like crazy in vivarium conditions, and it just really crawls around the bottom. It'll crawl up wood. It'll go through water. I've had a really hard time killing this plant, so highly recommend this one. And here we have a nice little philodendron peach. Has some nice climbing capabilities, and in my situation, the leaves have not gotten too big. And next we have Peperomia EMARGINELLA. As you guys know, this is one of my favorite vivarium plants of all time. It's really, really small. It's got cool texture and really beautiful leaves. When this thing starts to take off and it starts cascading off pieces of wood, it can really add a lot of depth to your vivarium and just create a great sense of space. So one of my top 5s. This one here I am just calling an unknown philodendron species. For the life of me, I cannot find the tag or any paper with a name on it, so that's what it is. Here we have Peperomia serpens. This plant climbs all over the place and is next to impossible for me to kill. I use this as a filler in a lot of my tanks that kind of fills up spaces in the background, so very easy to grow. Here we have Restrepia dodsonii. This orchid is very tolerable to drying out or being kept in damp conditions. And here we have Pilea microphylla. I actually did not plant this one in the tank. It just sprouted out of the moss, as it normally does with the moss that I use. It's a really cool plant sometimes, and I like it in this spot, so I'm just letting it do its thing. But oftentimes it can be a little crazy and get out of control, and I do find myself pulling it out of the tank and throwing it in the trash. And next we have Zootrophian griffin. This is one of my favorite orchids because it is incredibly tolerable to drying out or being saturated. This is a microgramma species from Ecuador. It's a very slow growing plant for me in this tank, but quite beautiful. Phyllobates Terribilis are one of the largest of the poison dart frogs. They're also one of the boldest, if not the boldest in the hobby. They're offered in a few different color morphs such as mint, which these are, yellow, orange, and blackfoot orange. They're very easy to care for and breed. Terribilis are one of the few dart frogs that will accept larger prey items such as 3/8 inch crickets, whereas most of the dart frogs only accept very small prey items such as fruit flies and other small insects. They're also one of the better dart frogs for display vivariums simply because they're large, bold, and they do well in groups. Like most of the dart frogs, Terribilis like temperatures in the low to mid 70s and humidity around 70 to 80%. One thing that's important to think about when designing a tank for Terribilis is to be conscious of the fact that they're prone to foot rot, so you do not want them being forced to sit in a constantly wet substrate. It's best to have a tank drilled for drainage or have a substantial drainage layer, and also multiple places up high in the vivarium they can go so they can be dry. Breeding Phyllobates Terribilis is also fairly easy. Although they do take a bit longer to reach sexual maturity, which is around 18 to 24 months out of the water, once you do have confirmed males and females, they seem to really be triggered by soaking the tanks randomly at night. I actually chose to do this on nights when the weather was really bad in my local area, such as a thunderstorm. It seems to really trigger them to start breeding behavior. Breeding behavior for Terribilis is very easy to notice. You'll hear males calling all day and see multiple frogs huddling around a coconut hut that has a petri dish underneath of it for laying eggs. Males will call back and forth all day, which is what you're seeing here. And you may see a group of 3 or 4 frogs inside a coconut hut at one time doing their business, or as few as just one frog laying the eggs or a male fertilizing the eggs. Once you do in fact get them to breed, expect to have a lot of eggs and tadpoles. These guys can lay clutches anywhere from 16 to 40 eggs per female. Terribilis can be somewhat tricky to get viable egg clutches, and these frogs seem to require more vitamin A supplement than other dart frogs. I give mine vitamin A once a week, whereas all my other dart frogs get vitamin A twice a month. Once you have viable eggs, coat the bottom of the petri dish in RO water or spring water. Do not submerge the eggs, and put a lid on it and label it. Tadpoles take 60 to 90 days to morph out, and they can be kept communally. I keep mine in a sterilite tub with sponge filter and air pump, Indian almond leaves on the bottom, floating plants, and I feed them Repashy Soylent Green. Here you can see multiple stages and ages I have in this tub, all seeming to be getting along and with little to no signs of cannibalism. Okay, friendos, that's going to conclude this first entry to the new video series. Let me know what you guys thought about this type of video in the comments below. I'm planning on posting a video weekly or bi-weekly like this, where we just go through one tank in the collection and talk about everything that's inside that specific tank. Let me know if you guys like this new idea, and let me know which tank or frog that you guys want to hear me talk about in the next video. As always, I hope that you guys did enjoy this one and possibly learn something as well. We'll see you in the next one. Goldberg, out.